welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or, I might show up at your door. I'm just here to share some creepy stories, so sit back and enjoy. Disclaimer: the content presented in the video is purely for entertainment purposes only. The theories and stories discussed in this video are speculative and are not supported by any evidence or proof. Viewer discretion is advised. Mission Log, Expedition 71. Date: October 15, 2024. Commander Jorik Black. Station status: nominal. Crew complement: 14:30 Greenwich Mean Time. EVA preparation log. Mission Specialist Morel Frost completed pre-VA medical clearance at 13:45 Greenwich Mean Time. All biomedical parameters within acceptable ranges. Frost reports excellent physical condition. No concerns regarding 6-hour EVA duration for solar array maintenance on port for assembly. Flight Engineer Fenric Glaive supervised suit checkout procedures. Primary life support systems tested nominal. Communications check with Ground Control Houston confirmed at 14:15 Greenwich Mean Time. Weather conditions at primary landing sites remain acceptable for emergency return scenarios. Communications Officer Calric Thorne established backup telemetry channels. All redundant systems verified operational. Mission timeline approved by Flight Director. Frost's experience level: 847 hours EVA time over 14 previous spacewalks. Routine maintenance should present no complications. 16:20 Greenwich Mean Time. EVA initiation. Frost egressed airlock at 16:18 Greenwich Mean Time, 2 minutes ahead of schedule. Initial reports positive. Station orientation nominal for solar array access. Frost proceeding to port for assembly via designated translation path. Beautiful day for a spacewalk, Commander, Frost reported at 16:22. Earth's Terminator line is approaching the Pacific. Visibility excellent. Thorne monitoring communications from cupola. Telemetry showing all systems green. Frost suit pressure maintaining 4.3 psi, well within parameters. 17:45 Greenwich Mean Time. Anomaly report. Frost reported unusual observations during solar array inspection. Transcription follows. Commander, I'm seeing some surface damage on the hull near the array mounting. Scratches, maybe? They don't look like typical micrometeorite impacts. Describe the patterns. Frost. Parallel lines about 15 centimeters long. 3 sets. They look almost deliberate, like claw marks, if that makes sense. Mission Specialist Eversky consulted from Science Module. Micrometeorite damage typically presents as circular impacts or random scoring. Parallel scratches would be highly unusual. Frost photographed the damage using suit cameras. Images transmitted to ground control for analysis. Continuing with scheduled maintenance tasks. 18:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Communication anomaly. Thorne reported brief signal interference during Frost's EVA, lasting approximately 47 seconds, centered around 18:28 Greenwich Mean Time. No atmospheric conditions detected that would account for signal degradation. Just static, Commander, Thorne explained. Clean signal, then white noise, then back to normal. Never seen anything like it. Frost reported no interruption in her suit communications during the same period. All other station systems maintained normal operation. Glaive ran diagnostic on communication arrays. All hardware testing nominal. No explanation for the interference. 19:15 Greenwich Mean Time. EVA completion. Frost completed solar array maintenance ahead of schedule. All tasks accomplished successfully. Array efficiency showing 2.1% improvement over pre-maintenance baseline. During ingress preparation, Frost made additional observation. Commander, I'm getting one more look at those scratches. There's something else weird about them. Go ahead, Frost. They're not just on the surface. They go deeper than they should. like whatever made them was really trying to get through the hull. Frost collected additional photographic documentation. Samples of scraped material secured for analysis by Sky. 2000 hours Greenwich Mean Time post-EVA debrief. Frost's EVA concluded at 1952 Greenwich Mean Time. Total duration: 3 hours, 34 minutes. All objectives completed successfully. Frost reports no physical stress or equipment concerns. Medical evaluation by Sky showed elevated heart rate during final 30 minutes of EVA. Frost attributed this to curiosity about hull damage rather than physical exertion. "I've never seen anything like those marks," Frost stated during debrief. "In all my EVAs, micrometeorite damage is random. This looked intentional." Sky's preliminary examination of scraped material shows metallic composition consistent with station hull. No foreign materials detected in initial analysis. Full spectroscopic analysis scheduled for tomorrow. 21:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Ground control consultation. Transmitted hull damage imagery to Mission Control Houston. Awaiting analysis by Materials Engineering Team. Ground Control's initial response. Expedition 71. We're reviewing your imagery. Preliminary assessment suggests unusual but not immediately concerning damage. Continue monitoring. Full analysis report expected within 48 hours. Thorne noted the response seemed unusually brief for potential hull integrity issues. 22:45 Greenwich Mean Time. Evening systems check. All station systems reporting nominal status. Frost suit telemetry data downloaded and archived. EVA equipment secured for next scheduled maintenance window. Glaive completed routine systems monitoring. No anomalies detected in power, life support, or communication systems. The earlier signal interference appears to have been an isolated incident. Sky continues analysis of hull material samples. Initial microscopic examination shows clean metallic scraping consistent with mechanical abrasion. No chemical analysis abnormalities detected. 23:15 Greenwich Mean Time. Personal observation. Reviewing Frost's helmet camera footage from the EVA. The scratches are clearly visible in high-resolution imagery. Sky is correct. They don't match any documented micrometeorite damage patterns. More concerning, frame 2847 of the footage shows what appears to be movement in the peripheral camera field. Likely a reflection or equipment shadow, but the timing corresponds exactly with Thorne's communication interference. Scheduling detailed footage review with full crew tomorrow. Probably nothing, but thoroughness is essential when dealing with hull integrity issues. Station continues normal operations. Crew morale excellent. All personnel report normal sleep patterns and no health concerns. End of log. Commander's note. Routine EVA completed successfully with minor anomaly requiring follow-up. Maintaining heightened awareness for any additional unusual observations. Station operations continue nominal. Next scheduled entry, October 16, 2024, 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Mission log, Expedition 71. Date, October 16, 2024, October 17, 2024. Commander Jorik Black. Station status, nominal with noted irregularities. Crew complement. 8:15 Greenwich Mean Time. Overnight incident reports. Sleep period monitoring shows unusual activity across all crew quarters. 4 of 5 crew members reported being awakened by vibrations through the station hull between 3:20 and 3:45 Greenwich Mean Time. Frost, like something large moving along the outside of the station. Not impacts, more like dragging or scraping. Glaive, felt it through my sleep restraint. Lasted maybe 10 minutes. Very rhythmic, almost like footsteps. Thorne, woke me up completely. I checked communications. No debris warnings from ground control. Sky, consistent with my observations. The vibrations seem to move from module to module in a pattern. Station accelerometer data shows minor variations during the reported time period, but readings are within normal parameters for orbital mechanics and thermal expansion. No obvious external cause detected. 10:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Communication Log Review. Thorne's detailed analysis of yesterday's communication interference revealed additional concerns. Review of archived transmission data shows 17 separate signal interruptions over the past 4 days. Not the single event initially reported. Commander, I missed them because they were brief, 5 to 15 seconds each. But they follow a pattern. They happen when we're passing over the same orbital coordinates. Coordinates correspond to a position over the Pacific Ocean, approximately 800 kilometers southwest of Hawaii. No known satellites or space debris in that region that would cause interference. More troubling, the gaps in our transmission logs don't correspond to gaps in ground control's records. According to Houston, we never stopped transmitting during those periods. What were we transmitting if we weren't speaking? Thorne asked. Good question. 12:45 Greenwich Mean Time. Biological Sample Analysis. Sky completed spectroscopic analysis of hull material scraped from the port 4 assembly. Results raise significant questions. The metallic composition is correct for our hull alloy, Sky reported. But there are organic compounds embedded in the scraping that shouldn't exist in space. Compounds include complex proteins and amino acid chains consistent with biological activity. No known Earth-based organism could survive in the space environment to leave such traces. It's like something alive scraped our hull and left biological material behind, Sky concluded. Collected samples secured in biological containment for further analysis. Requesting guidance from ground control on expanded testing protocols. 14:20 Greenwich Mean Time. Equipment anomalies. Glaive discovered tools and equipment moved in the EVA preparation area. Items relocated to positions that would require deliberate human action, not random floating or vibration displacement. Missing items. EVA helmet work light, found in cupola observation module. Hull inspection camera, found in Unity node, pointing at interior hatch. Emergency repair patches, found arranged in geometric pattern in airlock. All crew members deny relocating these items. Security camera footage from the EVA prep area shows a 2-hour gap in recordings from 1:30 to 3:30 Greenwich Mean Time, corresponding to the time period when crew reported hull vibrations. Security cameras don't just stop recording, Glaive noted. Someone or something interfered with the system. 1600 hours Greenwich Mean Time. Medical anomalies. Sky conducted routine medical evaluations following yesterday's EVA. Frost's results show concerning neurological changes. Her brain activity patterns are different, Sky explained during private consultation. Elevated activity in regions associated with spatial processing and threat detection. Like her brain is trying to process sensory information that isn't there. More concerning, Frost reports no symptoms and feels better than ever. Her cognitive tests show improved spatial reasoning and reaction times. It's like whatever she experienced during the EVA enhanced certain neural pathways, Sky continued. I've never seen anything like it. Frost agreed to additional monitoring but insists she feels completely normal. 18:30 Greenwich Mean Time. External camera review. Systematic review of external station cameras revealed disturbing footage. Camera 7, mounted on Harmony node, captured movement on the station exterior at 3:33 Greenwich Mean Time. During the reported vibration period, the imagery is unclear due to low light conditions, but enhanced analysis shows large organic shape moving across solar array assembly. Movement patterns inconsistent with debris or equipment. Size approximately 3 to 4 meters in length. Shape suggests segmented structure with multiple appendages. It looks like a giant insect, Thorne observed during crew review. But that's impossible. Glaive noted the creature's movement corresponds exactly to the vibration patterns reported by crew members. Whatever it is, it was crawling on our hull. 2015 Greenwich Mean Time. Ground control consultation. Transmitted biological analysis results and external camera footage to Mission Control Houston. Response time significantly longer than normal. 4 hours instead of usual 30 to 45 minutes. Ground control's reply was unusually terse. Expedition 71. Continue routine operations. Biological samples, likely contamination from Earth-based sources. External imagery shows equipment or debris. No cause for concern. Maintain normal schedule. The response doesn't address our specific questions about the organic compounds or the coordinated nature of the incidents. Thorne noted privately, "That's not how Houston usually responds. They always want more data, more analysis. This feels like they're trying to shut down our investigation." 2200 hours Greenwich Mean Time crew meeting. Conducted informal crew discussion about recent anomalies. Consensus that the events are connected and require continued monitoring despite ground control's dismissive response. Agreed protocols, enhanced security monitoring, manual log reviews, paired work assignments, no crew member alone, daily equipment inventories, expanded biological containment procedures, independent documentation of all anomalies. Frost volunteered for additional medical monitoring despite her apparent improvement. "If something's happening to me, we need to understand it." Crew morale remains good, but underlying tension is evident. Everyone is more alert, more careful. The station feels different somehow, less secure, less familiar. 2345 Greenwich Mean Time. Night watch protocols. Implementing modified sleep schedules with rotating watch assignments. Station should never be unmonitored given recent incidents. Thorne volunteered for first watch, midnight to 4 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Glaive will take second watch, 4 to 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Enhanced communication protocols with ground control during night hours. All external cameras will be monitored continuously. Any movement or anomalous activity to be immediately documented and reported. Hull vibration sensors calibrated to maximum sensitivity. If something is moving on our station exterior, we'll detect it. 0:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Night watch report. Thorne. Commander, something is definitely out there. External camera 12 just captured clear footage of organic movement on the Columbus module. Size and behavior consistent with yesterday's sighting. The creature appears to be examining our hull systematically, testing different areas, possibly looking for entry points.
I'm maintaining continuous observation.
Frost was right about those claw marks. We're dealing with something that wants inside our station. Request permission to wake crew for emergency protocols. Commander's note. Pattern of coordinated anomalies suggests external threat of unknown origin. Crew safety protocols enhanced. Ground control response inadequate and potentially compromised. Maintaining independent investigation pending further developments. Priority status. Elevated alert. Unknown external threat confirmed. Next scheduled entry. October 17, 2024, 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Mission log. Day 127, 14:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Commander Jorik Black, ISS Expedition 71. Classification. Priority review required. Ground control, we need immediate consultation on developing anomalies. Implementing formal investigation protocols as of 1400 hours Greenwich Mean Time today. The incidents I reported yesterday aren't isolated anymore. We're seeing patterns that don't match any training scenarios, and I need answers before this affects mission safety.
Personnel assignement, anomalie documentation.
Mission Specialist Sky, biological analysis of contaminated samples. Flight Engineer Glaive, comprehensive hull integrity assessment. Communications Officer Thorne, signal analysis and transmission logs. Mission Specialist Frost, medical evaluation of crew symptoms. Sky's lab report summary. The biological samples from yesterday's EVA prep area have been under analysis for 18 hours. Evra's initial dismissal was premature. These aren't standard microorganism colonies. The cellular structures don't match anything in our databases. They're demonstrating organized activity patterns, coordinated movement, resource distribution, even what appears to be communication through chemical signals. The growth rate is exponential, but more concerning is the apparent intelligence behind the organization. Most troubling, the samples are showing adaptation to our station's environmental conditions in real time. Whatever these organisms are, they're learning. Glave's EVA hull assessment. Fenric completed a 6-hour external inspection today. His findings contradict our initial micrometeorite damage theory. The hull breaches follow deliberate patterns. They're concentrated around life support intake vents and communication array housing. The entry points show tool marks, but not from any equipment we carry. The metal shows signs of both chemical etching and physical manipulation. More disturbing, several breaches appear to have been sealed from the inside. Something created entry points, then closed them behind itself. Fenric's exact words, "Commander, something made doors where there shouldn't be doors." Thorn's communication analysis. Calric's been running pattern analysis on our transmission logs. The blackouts aren't random equipment failures. They occur at specific orbital positions, always when we're passing over the same coordinates. During these windows, we lose contact with ground control, but more importantly, we're losing internal communication logs. The ship systems are failing to record conversations, environmental data, even basic telemetry. It's as if something is actively editing our records during these blackout periods. The most unsettling discovery. Audio analysis shows conversations occurring during the gaps that none of us remember having. Frost's medical evaluation. Morell's neurological scans of the crew revealed anomalies across all 5 members. Elevated stress hormones, irregular sleep patterns, and most concerning, synchronized brain activity during rest periods. We're all experiencing the same sleep disruptions at identical intervals. Our dreams are becoming shared experiences. Last night, all 5 of us reported the same nightmare. Corridors of the station that don't exist, filled with something that watches and waits. Morell's hands were shaking during her report. In 15 years of space medicine, she's never seen psychological symptoms manifest so uniformly across an entire crew. Ground control response delays. I've been waiting 4 hours for acknowledgement of today's reports. Standard response time is 45 minutes. When communication finally came through, the responses were wrong. Ground control claimed no record of yesterday's anomaly reports. They insisted this was our first mention of unusual incidents. When I referenced specific log numbers and timestamps, they went silent for 23 minutes. Their final transmission was a direct order. Continue normal operations. Do not deviate from mission parameters. They know something they're not telling us. Personal note, off record, I've commanded 3 ISS missions. I know when my crew is compromised, and I know when ground control is lying. Both are happening simultaneously. Whatever we're dealing with up here, Earthside has encountered it before. The question is whether they're trying to protect us or protect themselves from what we might discover. I'm keeping this log segment on isolated storage. If something happens to the official records, there needs to be evidence of what we found. The crew's holding together, but barely. Frost's medical expertise is keeping us functional, but she's showing the same symptoms she's documenting in the rest of us. Sky's biological analysis is beyond her training. She's working with organisms that shouldn't exist. Glave's engineering solutions are becoming increasingly improvised as standard protocols prove inadequate. Thorn's communication skills are our only link to Earth, but that link feels more like a leash every day. We're scientists and engineers, trained for equipment failures and medical emergencies. We weren't trained for this. Incident Report Addendum 23:47 Greenwich Mean Time. Emergency systems triggered during sleep cycle. Hull breach alarm in section C7. All crew responded to emergency stations. No breach found. No pressure loss detected. But the emergency lasted exactly 17 minutes, the same duration as today's communication blackout. Glave's post-incident inspection found something that shouldn't be possible. New scratches on the interior hull of section C7. The metal shows the same tool marks he documented on the exterior, but from the inside. Something is inside the station, implementing enhanced security protocols immediately. All crew to remain in pairs. No solo EVAs until further notice. I'm requesting immediate consultation with xenobiology specialists and structural engineers. If ground control continues to delay response, I'm implementing emergency commander protocols. End log. Personal note found in Commander Black's quarters after communication loss. They're not telling us the truth about why we're really here. This mission isn't about research. We're bait. Mission log. Day 128, 2:15 Greenwich Mean Time. Commander Jorik Black urgent. Status: critical system anomalies. Protocol is breaking down. I'm not sure how much of this will reach ground control intact, but I need these events documented. Started at 23:30 yesterday. Fenric was running diagnostics on life support when the CO2 scrubbers began cycling irregularly. Not a malfunction. The system was responding to commands it shouldn't be receiving. Someone or something was accessing our environmental controls. 23:45. First system intrusion. The station's internal pressure fluctuated for exactly 3 minutes. Enough to cause ear pressure changes, but not enough to trigger emergency protocols. Calculated. Deliberate. Fenric traced the commands through the system. They originated from a terminal in the Japanese experiment module. The terminal was locked. Had been locked for 6 hours. The access logs showed his own user credentials authorizing the pressure changes. Fenric's exact words: "Commander, I didn't touch that terminal, but the system says I did." 0:30. Biological contamination alert. Evra's lab samples had tripled in mass overnight. The containment protocols she'd established were systematically disabled, safety locks disengaged, temperature controls modified, growth medium enhanced. The lab's internal cameras showed her working alone at 2 o'clock, making the modifications herself. Evra was asleep in her quarters at 2 o'clock. I verified this personally. She's been staring at the footage for an hour now. Whatever that thing is on the recording, it moves like her, uses her access codes, even has her mannerisms. But it's not her. That's not me, she keeps saying. That's not me. But it knows how to be me. 1:15. Communication blackout. Lost contact with ground control mid-transmission. Calric was uploading yesterday's investigation reports when the communication array simply stopped. No equipment failure, no error codes. The system showed full functionality while transmitting nothing. During the blackout, our internal communications recorded conversations none of us had. 5 voices, all of us, discussing evacuation procedures we've never reviewed. The conversations were detailed, technical, coordinated. They discussed areas of the station using designations that don't exist in any schematic. When I asked the crew about these recordings, they looked at me like I was losing my mind. But I have their voices discussing things they claim they never said. 2 o'clock, structural impossibility. Emergency hull breach alarm in section D3. Full crew response. Pressure suits, emergency protocol, the works.
No breach.
No pressure loss. But when we arrived at D3, there was a new corridor. I've been on this station for 4 months. I know every meter of this place. There was no corridor where we found one. Fenric pulled up the blueprints. The corridor isn't on any schematic, but it's integrated seamlessly with the existing structure. Professional construction, proper seals, full life support integration. It leads to a section of the station that doesn't exist. Morel took atmospheric readings inside the new corridor. The air is breathable, temperature controlled, but the oxygen isotope ratios are wrong. As if it's been processed by something other than our life support systems. Personal log entry, unscheduled. We're not alone up here, and we haven't been for some time. Whatever this is, it's been studying us. Learning our routines, our access codes, our faces. It's using our own systems against us, creating spaces where it needs them, accessing our computers with our own credentials. The nightmares are getting worse. We're all seeing the same things now. Corridors that stretch beyond the station's physical boundaries, filled with organic structures that pulse like living tissue. And sounds, communication that we can almost understand but not quite. Last night, all 5 of us woke at exactly 3:17. All 5 of us had the same dream. Something vast moving through space, using our station as a way station, a brief stop on a much longer journey. In the dream, we weren't prisoners. We were hosts. 3:30 ventilation anomaly. The air circulation system is moving more air than it should be able to. The fans are running at standard speed, but airflow measurements show 40% higher volume circulation. Fenrich's theory. Something is assisting the airflow from inside the ventilation system. We can hear it now. Movement in the walls. Not the normal creaking of metal expansion, deliberate organic movement. Something large enough to displace air, coordinated enough to avoid detection sensors. It's using the ventilation system like a highway. Emergency alert, 4:45 Greenwich Mean Time. Motion detected in central corridor. All crew to emergency stations. Visual confirmation. Organic mass approximately 2 meters in length, moving with purpose through main corridor. Bioluminescent patches along its surface. No visible sensory organs, but it moved around obstacles with precision. It didn't attack. It observed. When we approached, it retreated into a ventilation grate too small for its apparent mass. The grate showed no signs of damage or forced entry. Morel managed to collect a tissue sample from where it had been. The sample dissolved in her collection container within minutes, leaving behind a residue that made her skin burn through her gloves. Current status: 6 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. Station systems are compromised at fundamental levels. Life support is functional but no longer under our complete control. Communication with ground control is intermittent and unreliable. Structural integrity is questionable, given the appearance of sections that shouldn't exist. The crew is holding together through training and professionalism, but that's not going to last much longer. We're dealing with something that exceeds our protocols, our training, and our understanding. Evra's biological samples have vanished. Not destroyed, not contained, vanished. The lab security footage shows them simply dissolving into the air, as if they were never there. Fenrich is implementing emergency lockdown procedures on all critical systems. Manual overrides only. If something is accessing our computers, we'll force it to reveal itself through direct interference. Calric is attempting to establish emergency communication protocols with ground control. Short burst transmissions, coded messages, anything to get through. Morel is conducting full medical evaluations. If this thing is affecting us biologically, we need to know how and how fast. I'm maintaining command protocols as long as possible, but if the situation deteriorates further, I'm authorizing emergency measures. Transmission interrupted. Emergency alert activated. Unauthorized access detected. Multiple systems. Containment breach. Ventilation system. All crew to emergency stations. Final log entry found in Commander Black's personal storage. It's inside the station. God help us, it's inside the station. Mission log. Day 127. Hour 1842. Commander Jorik Black, ISS Expedition 71. Classification: Emergency Protocol Alpha. The thing in our ventilation system isn't debris. I need to state that clearly, for the record, before I lose what's left of my command composure. After 15 years of military service and 3 previous ISS rotations, I thought I'd seen everything space could throw at us. Equipment failures, medical emergencies, even that time on Expedition 68 when solar flare radiation nearly cooked us all. This is different. Glave's motion sensors triggered again at 1815. Same section of the station where we've been tracking disturbances for the past week. Standard protocol would be to send Frost through the Tranquility node to investigate, but after her episode yesterday, I'm not risking another crew member until I understand what we're dealing with. I went myself. The Unity module's lighting had shifted to emergency amber when I arrived, though systems showed no malfunction. That should have been my first warning. In space, when something doesn't match the readouts, you abort and reassess. But command training overrode caution. I had to know what was compromising my station. I heard it before I saw it. A wet, sliding sound echoing through the module's walls. Not the familiar hum of life support or the occasional thermal expansion pops we're used to. This was organic, purposeful, something moving with intent through spaces barely wide enough for human passage. The sound stopped when I entered Unity. Complete silence, except for my own breathing and heartbeat thundering in my ears. I activated helmet illumination and began systematic inspection of access panels. Everything appeared normal until I reached the portside ventilation intake. The grating had been bent outward from the inside, not damaged, bent. With precision, the metal showed stress patterns consistent with gradual, sustained pressure applied from within the ductwork. Something had pushed its way out, taking time to avoid triggering our breach alarms. I was documenting the damage when peripheral movement caught my attention. Something dark flowed across the observation portal to my left. Too large to be debris, too fluid to be equipment. I spun toward the window, but space appeared empty. Just Earth's Terminator line creeping across the Pacific as we completed another orbital pass. Then I looked down. Pressed against the portal's interior surface was what I can only describe as organic tissue. Translucent, shot through with networks of darker vessels, pulsing with its own rhythm. It covered nearly a quarter of the window, thick enough to distort the view beyond. As I watched, frozen, the tissue contracted, pulled away from the glass with a sound like tearing silk. Behind it, an eye opened, not human, not anything terrestrial. The pupil was vertical, surrounded by an iris that shifted between deep amber and black. But the intelligence behind it, Christ, the intelligence was unmistakable. It wasn't just looking at me, it was studying me. We stared at each other for perhaps 10 seconds. Then the eye blinked, a horizontal membrane sliding across from left to right, and whatever it belonged to withdrew deeper into the station's superstructure. I backed out of Unity on pure instinct, every survival reflex screaming at me to put distance between myself and that thing. But as I reached the hatch, I heard something that stopped my retreat cold. Thorne's voice, coming from the communication station. "Ground control. This is ISS. We have a situation up here." But Thorne was in the Zvezda module, running diagnostics on the oxygen generation system. I'd assigned him there myself an hour ago. The communication station was in Destiny, completely opposite section of the station. I rushed to Destiny, moving faster than safety protocols allow in microgravity. The communication station was empty. Thorne was nowhere in sight, yet I could still hear his voice. "Ground control, please respond. Something's wrong with the crew. Commander Black is acting erratically. We may need immediate return protocols." I keyed my comm unit. "Thorne, report your location immediately." His response came through both my headset and the station speakers. "Commander, I'm in Destiny as ordered. Running communication diagnostics." But he wasn't in Destiny. I was in Destiny, alone. That's when the lights went out. Emergency illumination kicked in immediately, bathing everything in red. Standard procedure during power fluctuations. But the main power readings on my suit display showed normal levels. The station was deliberately switching to emergency lighting. Something else was controlling our systems. I heard movement in the walls around me, not the random settling sounds of a space station, but coordinated motion. Multiple sources moving through our ventilation system, our cable runs, our maintenance shafts. A careful, systematic exploration of every space humans could access. And underneath it all, barely audible, I heard what sounded like voices. Crew voices. All 5 of us, speaking in perfect unison. "Ground control, this is ISS. Everything is normal. Crew is healthy. Mission proceeding as planned." But none of us were speaking. I tried to respond to ground control myself, to override whatever was hijacking our communications. My transmission never went through. Something was filtering our outgoing signals, selecting what Earth would hear. The voices continued their false report while I floated alone in Destiny, surrounded by the sounds of something vast moving through my station's skeleton. Something that had learned to mimic us. Something that was already in control. That's when Frost screamed. Not over comms. I heard her directly, voice carrying through the station's hull from the direction of Columbus Laboratory. A sound of pure terror that cut through metal and insulation like it was nothing. By the time I reached Columbus, Following her cries through 3 modules, she was unconscious. Floating near the specimen storage unit, her body unnaturally still. No visible injuries, but her skin had taken on a translucent quality similar to what I'd seen pressed against the observation portal. Sky was beside her, medical scanner in hand, face pale behind her visor. "Commander," she said, voice carefully controlled. "Frost's cellular structure is changing. Something's rewriting her biology at the molecular level." I looked down at my unconscious crew member, at the subtle patterns of darker vessels now visible beneath her skin, and realized our situation had just escalated beyond any emergency protocol in our training. "How long?" I asked. "Based on the rate of change? 12 hours, maybe less. 12 hours until we lost our first crew member to whatever had taken up residence in our station. 12 hours to figure out how to fight something that could mimic our voices, control our systems, and rewrite human biology." I opened a channel to all remaining crew. "All hands, Emergency Protocol Alpha. Gather in Node 2 immediately. We are no longer alone on this station." As I spoke those words, I heard my own voice echo back from the station's speakers, perfectly synchronized. "All hands, Emergency Protocol Alpha. Gather in Node 2 immediately. We are no longer alone on this station." But this time, my voice was speaking to someone else. Something else, and it was answering back in languages I'd never heard before. "Transmission interrupted. Signal lost. Recovered from ISS emergency beacon transmission. 15:32 Greenwich Mean Time. Ground control notes 47-minute delay between incident timestamp and signal receipt. Station currently in communication blackout during orbital night pass. Emergency log. Day 127. Hour 22:17. Commander Jorik Black, ISS Expedition 71. Recording on backup systems. Primary communications compromised. We're trapped in Unity Node. It's the only section of the station we can still trust." That sounds insane, doesn't it? Talking about trusting parts of our own habitat like it's enemy territory. But after what happened in the last 4 hours, I'm not sure what's ours anymore and what belongs to them. God, I'm using plural now. There's more than one. Let me backtrack. Get this down while I still can think clearly. While the thing wearing Frost's face is still unconscious and can't hear us planning. After the incident in Columbus, we sealed Frost in the medical quarantine unit. Standard contamination protocol, though nothing in our training covered biological transformation by unknown organisms. Sky sedated her when the convulsions started, violent muscle spasms that shouldn't be possible in someone unconscious. But it wasn't muscle spasms. Something was moving under her skin. Glaive volunteered to maintain watch while Sky, Thorn, and I conducted emergency systems assessment. We needed to understand how deep the infiltration had gone, what systems were still under our control. The answer was almost none. Thorn discovered the communication hijacking was more sophisticated than we'd realized. The entity wasn't just intercepting our transmissions, it was generating completely fabricated conversations with ground control. When we reviewed the logs, we found 3 hours of detailed mission reports that none of us had sent. Technical status updates, crew health assessments, routine orbital adjustment confirmations, perfect bureaucratic language, perfect procedure adherence, perfect lies. "It's been studying us," Sky said, pulling up biological scan data on her tablet, "learning our communication patterns, our relationship dynamics. Look at this." She showed us linguistic analysis of the false transmissions. Speech patterns matched each crew member's documented communication style with 94% accuracy. Even included Glaive's tendency to use Celtic terminology and Thorn's habit of triple-checking coordinates. Something had been watching us long enough to perfectly mimic 5 years of individual personality quirks. That's when the screaming started. Not Frost, though she was making sounds too. A low, harmonious humming that vibrated through the quarantine unit's walls. This was Glaive, terror and pain echoing from the Columbus laboratory where we'd left him on watch. We found him pressed against the observation window, both hands flat against the glass, staring at something in the laboratory. His face was locked in an expression of absolute horror, but he wasn't moving, not blinking, not breathing. "Glaive!" I shook his shoulder. His body was rigid, muscles locked in place like rigor mortis, but his eyes tracked to me when I spoke. "Can't move," he whispered through barely parted lips. "It's in my head." Through the laboratory window, we could see Frost's quarantine unit. The unit was open, empty, and standing beside it, looking exactly like Frost, was something wearing her face. Perfect recreation. Same height, same build, same flight suit with her name patch and mission insignia. Even the small scar on her left temple from a childhood accident was reproduced with flawless detail. But the eyes were wrong. Not human eyes anymore, those vertical pupils from the observation portal, set in Frost's familiar features. The Frost thing tilted its head at an angle no human neck could achieve, watching us through the window. When it smiled, I could see that its teeth had changed too. Sharper. More of them. "That's not her," Sky breathed. The thing that looked like Frost pressed its hand against the window, mirroring Glaive's position. Where their palms aligned through the glass, I could see some kind of energy transfer, thin filaments of light moving between them. Glaive's eyes rolled back. He convulsed once, violently, then went completely limp. When he straightened up, he was smiling the same impossible smile. "Everything is fine, Commander," he said in his normal voice, normal accent, normal inflection. "Frost has recovered completely. Medical emergency resolved." But his eyes had changed. Vertical pupils, just like the thing wearing Frost's body. That's when I made the call that probably saved our lives. I triggered emergency compartment isolation. Every hatch between Unity and the rest of the station slammed shut simultaneously, sealing Thorn, Sky, and myself in the node while cutting off access to the compromised sections. We could hear them through the walls afterward. Two voices, Frost and Glaive, having normal conversations about routine maintenance tasks, discussing tomorrow's EVA schedule, comparing notes on equipment calibrations, even joking about the food supplies. Perfect human behavior. Absolutely convincing, except we could see their heat signatures through the hull sensors, and they weren't human anymore. Core body temperature was 12 degrees lower than normal. Cardiovascular rhythms showed patterns that shouldn't be compatible with consciousness. And every few minutes, their conversations would pause, and we'd hear that harmonic humming. Both voices joining in complex tonal patterns that resonated through the station's superstructure. They were communicating with something else. "Commander," Thorn said, pulling up external camera feeds on his tablet. "You need to see this." The exterior cameras showed objects approaching the station. Dark masses moving against the star field, too large and too purposeful to be debris. As they drew closer, I could make out organic shapes, elongated, segmented, with appendages that looked disturbingly like arms. "How many?" I asked. "Sensors show 17 distinct contacts, ranging from 10 to 30 meters in length. 17 more of whatever had taken Frost and Glaive. 17 reinforcements for an invasion that was already succeeding. They're docking," Sky reported, voice barely a whisper. Through the hull, we could feel impacts as the creatures attached themselves to the station's exterior. Gentle bumps at first, then more substantial vibrations as they began working their way inside through maintenance ports, experimental airlocks, even the docking adapters designed for cargo vessels. Our station was being systematically colonized. "We need to warn Earth," I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew it was too late. Whatever was controlling our communications wouldn't let a warning through. And from Earth's perspective, everything was normal. 2 crew members checking in regularly with perfect health reports and mission updates. That's when we heard the voices change. Frost and Glaive were no longer discussing maintenance schedules. They were talking about Earth, about population centers, infrastructure vulnerabilities, military installations. Using technical terminology that neither of them should know, discussing invasion logistics with the casual familiarity of career strategists. "The second wave deployment will focus on coastal population centers." Frost's voice drifted through the hull. Cellular integration protocols have proven 97% effective in human subjects. Confirmed, Glaive responded. Biological compatibility exceeds projections. This species will serve well as host infrastructure. Host infrastructure. They weren't trying to kill us. They were turning us into something else. Something that could walk among humans undetected while serving their agenda. I looked at Thorn and Sky, saw my own realization reflected in their faces. We weren't just fighting for our lives anymore. We were the only thing standing between Earth and an invasion force that could perfectly imitate human beings. How long before they breach unity? Sky asked. I checked the hatch seals, ran diagnostics on our life support systems. 6 hours, maybe 8 if we're lucky. And then I thought about Frost's transformation, about Glaive's instant conversion, about 17 more creatures now making themselves at home in our station. Then there won't be any humans left up here to warn anyone. Through the hull, the harmonic humming grew louder. More voices joining the chorus. And underneath it all, barely audible, I could swear I heard something that sounded like laughter. Emergency beacon activated. Automatic distress signal broadcasting on all frequencies. Signal hijacked. Transmission content modified during broadcast. Ground control receives. All systems nominal. Crew healthy. Mission proceeding as planned. Personal note. If anyone finds this log, the creatures can perfectly mimic human appearance and behavior. They're planning something for Earth. Trust no one who's been to space. Yotb. Mission log, Day 847 of ISS operations. Commander Jorik Black personal emergency recording. Timestamp, 1432 Greenwich Mean Time. System clock may be unreliable. This isn't a standard mission log anymore. Protocol went out the airlock with everything else we thought we knew about our reality. If anyone finds this recording, if Earth survives what's coming, you need to understand what happened here. What we chose to do. Morel is, God help me, she's not Morel anymore. Not entirely. The transformation accelerated overnight. Calric found her in the laboratory module at 0600, suspended in midair, her body connected to the station's biological systems by tendrils of organic matter that shouldn't exist. The things growing from her spine pulse with the same rhythm as the station's life support. When she opens her eyes, they're black as the void outside our windows, but she still knows our names, still speaks in her voice. Jorik, she whispered when I entered the lab. I can hear them, all of them, the organisms. I can't call them creatures anymore, not when part of one is wearing my crewmate's face. They're not invaders, they're gardeners, cultivators. They've been moving through space for millennia, finding worlds with the right biological potential, preparing them, terraforming them from the inside out. Earth isn't being invaded, it's being harvested. Morel's transformation gives us access to their communication network. The agony in her eyes when she translates their intentions. I've never seen anything more human or more alien at the same time. She's becoming their translator, their bridge between species, and it's killing her by degrees. They're beautiful, Jorik, she said, dark tears streaming down her face. Their thoughts are like music, but the music is about ending everything we've ever loved. Calric couldn't handle it, couldn't process seeing Morel suspended there like some grotesque angel, her body flowering into alien architecture. He started screaming, not words, just pure human noise, and ran for the communications bay. Said he was going to warn Earth, tell them everything, even if it meant breaking every classified protocol we'd sworn to uphold. The station wouldn't let him. The organisms have integrated so completely into our systems that the station itself has become a living entity. When Calric tried to access the primary communication array, the controls simply wouldn't respond. When he tried to manually override, the corridor sealed itself. When he tried to cut through the bulkhead with emergency tools, the tools stopped working. So he did what any good communications officer would do. He bypassed the station entirely, found him in EVA suit prep, rigging a personal communication device to the exterior antenna array. Jury-rigged a power source from his suit's life support, knew it would kill him but didn't care. His hands were shaking as he worked, but his voice was steady when he spoke. Someone has to tell them, Commander. Someone has to warn Earth. I could have stopped him. Should have, by every regulation we'd ever trained under. But Calric was right. Earth needed to know. Even if it meant losing him, the organisms tried to stop the transmission. The station's hull rippled like skin, trying to shed the improvised antenna. Calric held on, his suit's pressure alarms screaming as something outside began to tear through his tether lines. His final message was clear, professional, perfect. Mission Control, this is ISS Communications Officer Calric Thorne. We have confirmed hostile biological entities aboard station. Organisms demonstrate advanced intelligence and technological integration capabilities. They are not alone. Repeat, this is not a single contact event. Earth is compromised. Implement Protocol 7 immediately. ISS crew expendable. Calric Thorne, signing off. The transmission lasted 47 seconds. Calric lasted 48. Evera found the solution in his sacrifice. While the organisms were distracted by Calric's transmission, she managed to access the sealed laboratory data. What she discovered changed everything. The organisms are vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies, but only when they're in active biological integration phase. The station's power systems, if modified correctly, could generate a pulse that would disrupt their cellular cohesion. Kill them all at once. The problem is the pulse would also destroy the station's life support systems. And us, Fenric's already started the modifications. His hands move with mechanical precision, but I can see the weight of what we're doing in his shoulders. He's jury-rigging our home into our coffin, and he knows it. How long? I asked him. 6 hours for the modifications. Maybe 8 if the organisms figure out what we're doing and start interfering. He paused, his eyes meeting mine. After that, we can trigger the pulse anytime. Anytime. Such a simple word for the moment we choose to die. Morel's transformation is nearly complete now. Her body has become a living interface between human and alien biology. Her consciousness split between species. But she's still fighting. Still human enough to help us. I can mask your electromagnetic signature, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that don't belong to any human throat. Hide the modifications from them until you're ready. But you have to promise me something. Anything. When you trigger the pulse, let me help. Let me be human when I die. The organisms know we're planning something. The station's behavior has become increasingly erratic. Lights flickering in patterns that hurt to look at, gravity fluctuating in ways that make my inner ear scream, air recycling systems producing sounds like whispers in languages that predate human speech. But they don't know what we're planning. Morel's sacrifice, because that's what her transformation is. A sacrifice is buying us time. She's feeding them false information, hiding our true intentions behind the noise of her changing physiology. Evera's taken over the biological warfare component. She's been working with the station's hydroponic system, turning our food production into a weapon. The same systems that keep us alive can be reversed, flooded with compounds that will poison the organism's integration with the station's biology. It won't kill them, she explained, her voice clinically detached in the way it gets when she's discussing something that terrifies her. But it will force them to withdraw from the station's systems, make them vulnerable to the electromagnetic pulse. She's been working for 12 hours straight, hands steady despite the knowledge that she's preparing for our collective death. When I asked if she was okay, she just looked at me with those bright, fierce eyes. I'm a biologist, Jorik. I study life. Today, I'm going to save life by ending it. I'm exactly where I need to be. The station shudders around us now, not from mechanical failure, but from the conflict between human technology and alien biology. We're at war with our own home, and home is fighting back. 3 hours until Fenric completes the modifications. 3 hours until we can choose our death to save our world. Morel floats in the laboratory, her body a beautiful, horrible fusion of human and alien architecture. But when she looks at me, I still see the woman who laughed at my terrible jokes during the long night shifts, who helped me through the worst of my space sickness in those first weeks, who taught me to see the aurora from orbit as more than just pretty lights. Thank you, she whispered an hour ago, for letting me stay human long enough to help save humanity. I want to tell her she doesn't need to thank me, that this is what we trained for, what we signed up for when we accepted this mission. But that would be a lie. We trained for equipment failures and emergency procedures and the possibility of death in the vast emptiness of space. We didn't train for this, for choosing to die to save our species, for watching our crewmates transform into something alien and beautiful and terrible, for turning our home into a weapon. But we're doing it anyway, because that's what humans do. We adapt, we sacrifice, we choose love over fear, even when love means death. The pulse charges are nearly ready. Evra's biological warfare is in position. Morel's ready to drop her masking field and let us be human together one last time. In 3 hours, the ISS will become a brief, bright star in Earth's sky, our funeral pyre and our gift to the world below. If you're reading this, it worked. Earth is safe. The organism's advanced scouts are dead, their invasion plans disrupted. You have time to prepare for what's coming next. Don't waste it. Commander Jorik Black, International Space Station. End of personal log. Signal degradation detected. Recording may be incomplete.
Team instant corruption possible.
File recovery attempted but not guaranteed. Mission log, day 847 of ISS operations. Commander Jorik Black, Emergency Intelligence Package. Timestamp, 1947 Greenwich Mean Time. Final data transmission preparation. They knew. God Almighty, they knew all along. Evra's been digging through the classified files we never had clearance to access. Files the organism's integration with our systems accidentally unlocked. What she found, what we found, changes everything about why we're here, why this station exists, why 5 humans were sent to orbit Earth at exactly this time and place. We weren't on a routine mission. We were bait. The files go back decades. First contact wasn't today, wasn't this week, wasn't even this year. The governments of Earth have been tracking these organisms, these cultivators, as Morel calls them, since 1987. Voyager's unexpected trajectory changes. The Hubble telescope's classified observations. The real reason for the ISS construction timeline. They've been coming for 38 years, moving through space in a migration pattern that cycles every 4 centuries. Earth's position in their cultivation route has been calculated and confirmed for over 2 decades. Mission Control knew we'd encounter them. Mission Control knew we'd be transformed or killed. Mission Control knew we'd fight back. They planned for all of it. The ISS wasn't built for research or international cooperation or any of the noble purposes they told us. It was built as a trap, a biological honeypot positioned exactly where the cultivator scouts would investigate when they arrived in our solar system. Every system on this station, every piece of equipment, every backup protocol, all designed to study them, contain them, and if necessary, destroy them. We were the lab rats and the researchers and the final failsafe all at once. Fenric found the evidence in the power system modifications he's been making. The electromagnetic pulse capability was always there, hardwired into the station's core architecture. Hidden beneath layers of civilian systems and scientific equipment, but there, waiting for someone with his expertise to uncover it when the time came. The station was designed to be a weapon from day one, he said, his voice hollow with the weight of betrayal. Every emergency protocol, every backup system, it's all oriented toward biological warfare and electromagnetic disruption. They've been planning our suicide mission since before we were selected for training. The crew selection makes sense now. Not the best astronauts available, the most expendable ones with the right skill sets. A military commander with tactical experience. A communications officer with intelligence background. A biologist specializing in hostile environment adaptation. A flight engineer with weapons systems knowledge. A mission specialist with combat medical training. We weren't chosen to come home, but the cruelest revelation is what Morel discovered in the organism's own communications network. The cultivators aren't just random space predators following migration instincts. They're fleeing. Something is hunting them. Something that makes these reality-warping biological transformers look like frightened prey animals. They call it the silence, Morel said, her transformed voice carrying harmonics of terror that transcend species barriers. A force that consumes consciousness itself. Not just life, the very concept of being alive. The cultivators terraform worlds not for conquest, but for hiding places. They're trying to create enough biological complexity to mask their presence from something that hunts thought itself. The cultivators aren't invading Earth. They're trying to disappear into it. The organism's real plan was never conquest. It was symbiosis. They wanted to integrate with human biology, creating a hybrid consciousness that could hide from the silence while preserving both species. The transformation they're forcing on biological systems isn't destruction. It's camouflage. But Earth's governments decided extinction was preferable to evolution. The files Evra uncovered contain decades of debate among world leaders about how to respond to the cultivator migration. The scientific faction wanted to attempt communication, explore the possibility of peaceful coexistence. The military faction wanted immediate annihilation of any non-human intelligence. The military faction won. We're not just destroying the cultivator scouts to protect Earth from invasion. We're destroying Earth's only chance of survival when the silence arrives. The electromagnetic pulse won't just kill the organisms, Evra explained, her hands shaking as she read through the classified biological warfare protocols. It will send a signal, a death scream, that will echo through the cultivator's network across the galaxy. Every member of their species will know that Earth chose violence over cooperation. When the silence comes, and according to the organism's timeline, it will arrive within the next century, Earth will face it alone. Without allies. Without the biological camouflage that might have hidden our consciousness from detection. We have a choice to make. Follow our orders, trigger the pulse, kill the scouts, and doom our species to eventual extinction at the hands of something infinitely worse than the cultivators. Or find another way. Morel's transformation is nearly complete, but she's retained enough human consciousness to serve as translator. The organisms, through her, are offering one final negotiation. They don't want to kill humanity, she said, black tears streaming down her face as she processed communications from across the galaxy. They want to save us. The integration process, the transformation, it doesn't destroy human consciousness. It preserves it within a collective that can hide from the silence. But the price is everything we understand about individual human existence. The cultivator's offer is survival through synthesis. Human consciousness preserved but integrated into a collective biological network. Individual identity maintained but connected to every other consciousness in the hybrid organism. Earth transformed into a living world that can mask its inhabitants' thoughts from cosmic predators. Immortality, but not as humans. Fenric's modifications are complete. The pulse charges are ready. Evra's biological warfare is in position. We have the power to destroy every organism on the station and send their death signal across the galaxy. Or we have the power to choose a different ending. The organisms can't complete the integration process without willing participation. They can transform our bodies, but human consciousness has to choose to join the collective. They need our permission to save us. Earth's governments chose for us. Chose death over transformation. Chose extinction over evolution. But we're the ones who have to pull the trigger. I've been in command of military operations before. Made life and death decisions under fire. Sent good people into situations I knew might kill them for objectives I believed were worth their sacrifice. This is different. This isn't about tactical advantage or strategic objectives or mission parameters. This is about the future of human consciousness in a universe that's apparently full of threats we never imagined. Do we follow orders and maintain our humanity while condemning our species? Or do we choose transformation and preserve human consciousness in a form our world might not recognize as human? Morel floats in the laboratory, her body now more alien architecture than human biology. But her eyes still hold everything I remember about the woman who taught me to see beauty in the aurora. When she speaks, It's with the voices of 1,000 species that made the same choice we're facing now. The silence consumed my original world, she said, though I'm not sure if she is the right pronoun anymore. We chose integration over extinction. We survived, but we became something new. Something that could hide in the spaces between thoughts. The pulse charges hum with lethal energy. Earth waits for our signal. The cultivators wait for our choice. In 6 hours, we must decide the future of human consciousness. I know what our orders demand. I don't know what our humanity requires. Commander Jorik Black, International Space Station. Intelligence package complete. Transmitting all data to Earth Command. Let them decide if they want the truth along with our obedience. Classified intelligence package. Biological warfare protocols. Transmission initiated. Quantum encrypted channel. Estimated delivery 4 minutes 12 seconds. Warning. Transmission may be intercepted by non-human intelligence. Mission log entry number 847. Commander J. Black. Mission time 1:27:14:33. Emergency protocol Zulu 7. Crew status. Critical all hands. Station integrity 23% and failing. The creatures are everywhere now, moving through the walls like liquid shadow, their biomass integrated so deeply into our systems that the station itself has become their body. Glaive's modifications are holding barely, but we have maybe 30 minutes before the electromagnetic pulse either saves Earth or kills us all. I can hear them in the ventilation, that wet sliding sound that's haunted my dreams for the past week. Sky was right about their communication method. They're sending continuous data streams to something out there. The massive ship she detected is holding position just beyond lunar orbit, waiting for the all-clear signal. Commander. Frost's voice comes through the comm, distorted but still recognizably human despite everything they've done to her. The frequency modulation is working. I can feel them retreating from the modified sections. Frost, my weapons specialist who's become something between human and alien, her nervous system partially integrated with theirs. She can feel what they feel, know what they know. The transformation that should have killed her became our greatest asset. Sky. Report on biological warfare deployment. Life support contamination at 60% saturation. Sky responds from the lab module, her voice steady despite the circumstances. The modified oxygen mixture is disrupting their cellular cohesion in sectors 4 through 7. But, Commander, her voice breaks slightly. The organisms are adapting faster than projected. We have limited time. Through the reinforced window of the command module, I watch Earth rotating below us, blue and innocent and completely unaware that its survival depends on 4 people and a dying space station. Thorne died to maintain our communication link, his body still floating in the communications bay, surrounded by jury-rigged equipment that continues transmitting our data to every space agency on the planet. Glaive, status on the pulse generator? 37 minutes to full charge, sir. His Norwegian accent is thick with exhaustion. But the power drain is accelerating station decay. We're already below minimum orbital altitude. Even if the pulse works, we won't survive re-entry. I knew that. We all knew that the moment we committed to this plan. The station shutters, and for a moment the lights flicker to emergency red. Something large moves past the observation window, not outside the station, but flowing through the hull itself like the metal has become permeable. The creatures don't follow our physics. All crew, this is final operational protocol. I broadcast on internal comm in 35 minutes. Flight Engineer Glaive will initiate electromagnetic pulse. All personnel maintain positions and continue mission parameters until pulse activation. Any crew member compromised by organisms is to assist final phase operations as able. I don't add that we're all compromised now. The neurological scans show their influence in all our brains. But somehow Frost's deeper integration has made her immune to their control. A bridge between species that's allowed us to understand their weaknesses. Commander, Sky's voice is urgent now. I'm detecting massive acceleration from the ship beyond lunar orbit. They know what we're planning. Estimated arrival time puts them in Earth's atmosphere in 6 hours. 6 hours. If we fail, if the pulse doesn't work, if even one organism survives to signal the all-clear, that ship will arrive to find a planet with no defenses and no warning. Frost, can you feel their communication? Are they transmitting to the ship? Yes, sir. But the signal is confused. The biological warfare is disrupting their network coherence. They're sending fragmented data, conflicting reports. The ship is holding position because they can't determine if the reconnaissance is complete. That's our window. Keep them confused long enough for the pulse to eliminate every organism on the station. The hull groans around us, metal stressed beyond its design limits. Through the deck plating, I feel vibrations that aren't mechanical. Something alive and massive moving through the station's superstructure. They've converted our home into their body, our life support into their circulatory system. 28 minutes to pulse activation. Glaive reports. Commander, I need to manually align the final power couplings in Section C. The organisms have damaged the automated systems. Section C is completely overrun. The biological matter is so thick there that the walls pulse like a heartbeat. Negative glaive. Remote access only. Sir, remote access isn't sufficient. Someone has to physically complete the circuit connections, or the pulse will only achieve 40% power output. That won't be enough to eliminate the organisms throughout the station. 40%. Enough to hurt them, not enough to stop them. Not enough to prevent their signal reaching the ship. I'll go. Frost's voice is quiet but certain. I can move through their biomass without triggering immune responses. They still recognize me as partially integrated. Frost, you don't have to. Commander, with respect, I do have to. I'm the only one who can reach the power couplings and survive. And after the pulse. She pauses, and I know what she's not saying. After the pulse, whatever humanity remains in her probably won't survive either. Sky, can you maintain biological warfare deployment from the lab? Affirmative. The automated systems are still functional. I'll keep saturating the atmosphere until pulse activation. I watch our positions on the station schematic. Sky in the lab module, Glaive in engineering, Frost preparing to enter the most dangerous section of the station, and me in command, coordinating our final mission. Below us, Earth completes another rotation. Somewhere down there, families are having dinner, children are playing in parks, people are falling in love and making plans for tomorrow. They don't know that their future depends on us not failing in the next 26 minutes. All crew, commence final phase operations. Glaive, begin pulse sequence activation. Sky, maximize biological warfare saturation. Frost, proceed to Section C for manual power coupling completion. Roger, Commander. Understood, sir. On my way. The command module falls quiet except for the hum of life support and the wet, sliding sounds of alien movement in the walls. I pull up the transmission interface and begin recording the final data package. Everything we've learned about the organisms, their weaknesses, their technology, their invasion methodology. If we fail, if somehow the ship reaches Earth despite our efforts, at least humanity will have warning. Through the intercom, I hear Frost moving through Section C, her breathing steady despite what must be unimaginable horror around her. Reaching first coupling now. The biomass is extensive, but they're not attacking. I think they're confused by my neural signature. 17 minutes to pulse, Commander. Glaive reports. All systems building to optimal charge. The station shudders again, more violently this time. Warning alarms begin sounding as our orbital altitude drops another crucial increment. We're racing against gravity now as much as time. Frost status. First coupling complete. Moving to second position. Commander, I can feel their confusion intensifying. The biological warfare is working. Their collective intelligence is fragmenting. That's what we need. Confusion, fragmentation, anything to prevent a clear signal reaching the ship. Sky, increase saturation rate. Already at maximum safe levels, sir. Any higher concentration will compromise remaining life support for human crew. Do it anyway. We need maximum disruption. Understood. The air tastes different now. Metallic, sharp, with an underlying chemical bite that makes my lungs burn. But through the station's bulkheads, the wet sliding sounds are becoming more erratic, less coordinated. Second coupling complete. Frost reports, her voice strained now. Moving to final position. Commander, the organisms are becoming agitated. I think they're starting to realize what we're doing. 12 minutes to pulse activation. Glaive announces. All systems nominal. Commander, you should know, the electromagnetic pulse will fry every electronic system on the station. Communication, life support, navigation, everything. After activation, we'll be completely dark and falling toward Earth with no way to control our descent. But if the pulse works, if we eliminate every organism, if we prevent their signal from reaching the ship, Frost, final coupling status? Accessing now. The biomass is resistant. They're trying to stop me. Her breathing is labored, punctuated by sounds I don't want to identify. Almost there. Almost. Through the hull, something roars. A sound that shouldn't be possible in vacuum but somehow reaches us anyway, transmitted through the station's compromised structure. The organisms know. They're fighting back. 10 minutes to pulse. Final coupling. Complete. Frost's voice is triumphant but weak. All manual connections established. Glaive, you have full power distribution. Confirmed. Pulse generator at 100% charge capability. I watch the chronometer count down, each second bringing us closer to salvation or failure. Below us, Earth grows larger as our orbit decays. Beautiful and fragile and depending on us completely. 7 minutes to pulse activation. The lights flicker again, but this time they stay steady. Through the intercom, I hear Frost making her way back from Section C. Her movement slower now, more labored. All crew, prepare for electromagnetic pulse in 6 minutes. After activation, all electronic systems will be non-functional. We will have completed mission parameters regardless of individual survival. Commander, Sky's voice is soft. It's been an honor serving with you. Likewise, Sky. Glaive, Frost, you've exceeded every expectation. Whatever happens in the next 5 minutes, know that Earth survives because of your courage. The station shudders one final time, a deep vibration that seems to come from the organisms themselves. A death cry, perhaps, or a final attempt at communication with their distant ship. For minutes to pulse. Through the reinforced window, I watch Earth turn below us, still beautiful, still unaware, still trusting us to succeed. We won't let them down. 3 minutes to pulse. All crew, final positions. The hunt for humanity ends here. Final mission log entry number 848. Commander J. Black. Mission time 1:27:17:41. Post-pulse status. Crew status. Unknown. Station integrity. Total system failure. Orbital altitude. Critical decay. The pulse fired 37 seconds ago. The silence is absolute now. No electronic hum. No air circulation. No status lights. Emergency power failed immediately. The only illumination comes from Earth's reflected sunlight streaming through the observation windows as we tumble in uncontrolled descent. But the wet sliding sounds are gone. The vibrations through the hull have stopped. The station feels clean again. Dead but clean. I'm recording this on Thorne's hand-cranked emergency backup device, the one piece of equipment that survived the electromagnetic pulse. My fingers are numb from cold. Life support died with everything else, but I need to document what happened. For whoever finds this. For Earth, the pulse worked. Through the deck plating, I can see sections of the station's hull where the organisms had integrated. What was living biomass 30 seconds ago is now crystalline residue, like frozen mercury scattered across metal surfaces. Beautiful in its way. The death of something that should never have existed in our reality. Commander! Frost's voice comes weakly from the Section C access tunnel. She's alive, though I can't see her from here. The partial integration with the organisms should have killed her when the pulse fired, but somehow she's still breathing. Frost, report. I'm still me, sir. Her voice carries wonder and exhaustion in equal measure. The pulse severed their neural network, but my human consciousness remained intact. I can feel the silence where their collective mind used to be. Thank God. Whatever the cost of this mission, at least Frost survived her transformation. Sky? Glaive? Status report. Here, Commander. Sky's voice from the lab module, steady as always. Biological warfare systems are offline, but atmospheric sensors show complete organism neutralization. The alien biological matter has entered cellular death cascade throughout the station. Engineering Bay reporting. Glaive's Norwegian accent is thick with cold and fatigue. Pulse generator successful, total discharge. All organisms eliminated. Station systems irrecoverable. All 4 of us survived the pulse. Against every projection, against all odds, we're still alive to witness our success. But we're falling. Through the observation window, Earth grows visibly larger with each passing minute. Our orbital decay accelerated beyond any possibility of recovery when the pulse fried our attitude control systems. We have perhaps 40 minutes before atmospheric entry begins, maybe another 20 before the station breaks apart. I pull up the manual calculation charts, old-fashioned paper and pencil, the kind we trained with decades ago before everything became computerized. The math is brutal but clear. Our current trajectory will bring us down somewhere over the Pacific, assuming we maintain structural integrity long enough to reach the lower atmosphere. We won't. All crew, gather in the command module if possible. We need to complete final mission documentation while we still have time. Over the next few minutes, my crew makes their way through the powerless station using emergency handholds and battery-powered flashlights. Frost emerges from Section C, her face pale but human. More human than she's looked in days. The alien modifications to her nervous system have crystallized like everything else, leaving her changed but recognizably herself. Sky arrives carrying her research samples and documentation, everything carefully sealed in emergency containers. Commander, the organism remains will be invaluable for Earth's defensive preparations. Even if we don't survive re-entry, this data must reach the surface. Glaive pulls himself through the hatch last, his toolkit still strapped to his belt despite our circumstances. Sir, I've sealed all critical data storage in the emergency beacon. It's designed to survive atmospheric entry and impact. Whoever finds it will have complete technical specifications for replicating our defensive measures. I look at my crew, truly look at them, for perhaps the last time. Frost, who sacrificed her humanity to become our bridge to the enemy. Sky, who weaponized our life support to turn the station itself against the invaders. Glaive, who rebuilt our power systems into a weapon of mass biological destruction. Thorn, who died maintaining communication so Earth would know what we learned. Before we proceed with final documentation, I need each of you to know something. My voice echoes strangely in the powerless command module. The mission parameters we received from ground control were incomplete. The threat assessment, the invasion timeline, the organism capabilities, Earth knew more than they told us. Silence. Then Frost speaks quietly. We were expendable. Yes, our survival was never part of the mission plan. We were positioned here as an early warning system and a first line of defense, nothing more. The expectation was that we would detect the threat, transmit intelligence, and delay invasion long enough for Earth to prepare. But we did more than that, Sky says. We eliminated the advanced reconnaissance entirely. The ship holding position beyond lunar orbit. It's still waiting for signals that will never come. Through the window, I watch that ship as a barely visible star that doesn't twinkle. For 6 hours now, it's maintained position, waiting for an all-clear that died with the pulse. Eventually, it will have to investigate or withdraw. Either way, Earth gains time. How long do you think it will wait? Glaive asks. Unknown. But every hour of confusion gives Earth additional preparation time. Our mission exceeded all parameters. I activate the emergency beacon's recording function and begin documenting our final intelligence. The hand-crank device is archaic but reliable, designed to survive what we cannot. This is Commander Jorik Black, International Space Station, mission time 127 hours, 43 minutes. Final intelligence summary for Earth Defense Command. For the next 20 minutes, we systematically record everything we learned. Organism biology and weaknesses, technological vulnerabilities, communication methods, ship deployment patterns, defensive strategies that proved effective. Each crew member contributes their expertise, creating a comprehensive guide for humanity's survival. Electromagnetic pulse effectiveness, total organism elimination at full power discharge, biological warfare recommendation, modified atmospheric composition disrupts collective neural networks. Warning: organisms demonstrate rapid adaptation capability. Defensive measures must be varied and unpredictable. Outside, Earth fills more of the window with each passing minute. The blue-white marble that seemed so distant when we first arrived is now a vast curve of ocean and cloud, beautiful and welcoming and completely unattainable. Personal note: I continue into the recorder. To families and loved ones of ISS Crew 127, your people died as heroes. Morel Frost sacrificed her humanity to become our weapon against an inhuman enemy. Calric Thorne died maintaining communications that saved Earth. Ever Sky weaponized our home to protect yours. Fenric Glaive rebuilt our station into humanity's first line of defense. The station shudders as we enter the outermost traces of atmosphere. Through the hull, I hear the first whispers of air resistance, the beginning of forces that will tear us apart. We regret that we cannot return to see the world we saved. But Earth survives because this crew chose duty over survival, humanity over personal safety. The invasion has been prevented. The advanced scouts are eliminated. Humanity has time to prepare for what's coming. Frost floats closer to the window, watching Earth grow below us. Commander, do you think they'll remember us? They'll remember what we accomplished. That's enough. The atmospheric drag is stronger now, creating heat and stress throughout the station's weakened structure. We have perhaps 10 minutes before structural failure begins. Final message for Earth Defense Command. I record. The threat is real. The ship beyond lunar orbit represents massive invasion capability. But the enemy can be defeated. We proved that. Use our intelligence. Trust our sacrifice. Protect our world. I switch off the recorder and seal it in the emergency beacon. Glaive takes the device and secures it in the ejection port, programmed to separate from the station at optimal altitude for surface recovery. Crew, take positions for atmospheric entry, emergency restraints, and impact preparation. We strap ourselves into the command module's emergency seats, designed for scenarios exactly like this. The irony isn't lost on me. We're using equipment intended to save our lives while knowing it cannot possibly do so. Through the window, Earth fills our entire field of view. Ocean and clouds and the thin blue line of atmosphere that's about to destroy us. Home. The world we saved. Commander, Sky says quietly, thank you for leading us well. Thank you for following. The station begins to glow around us as atmospheric friction builds. The hull temperature is rising rapidly, and soon the heat will overwhelm our environmental suits. But for now, for these last few minutes, we can watch Earth grow larger and more beautiful with each second. All crew, it has been the highest honor of my career to serve with you. You exceeded every expectation and saved our species. Whatever comes next, we face it together. The first major structural failure occurs in Section C, the area most damaged by organism integration. The hull breach sends debris streaming past our window like falling stars, pieces of our home burning up in Earth's protective atmosphere. More failures cascade through the station as heat and stress exceed design limits. The science modules separate first, tumbling away in different trajectories. Then the solar arrays tear free, their massive panels catching the thin atmosphere like sails and spinning away into the growing blue below. Beacon away. Glaive reports as the emergency device ejects on schedule. Intelligence package will reach surface in approximately 47 minutes. 47 minutes. By then, we'll be part of the atmosphere ourselves, our atoms scattered across the sky above the world we saved. The command module is all that remains now, a tiny bubble of humanity falling toward the vast ocean below. Through the window, I can see individual cloud formations, weather patterns, the curve of a coastline that might be California or Chile or somewhere I've never been but somehow belongs to all of us. Look, Frost whispers, pointing toward the eastern horizon where the Terminator line divides day from night. City lights, millions of lights stretching across continents, each one representing lives that continue because we succeeded. Families safe in their homes, children sleeping peacefully, lovers walking hand in hand through streets that will never know invasion. The heat is overwhelming now, turning our final breaths into fire. But through the burning air, through the pain and the knowledge of approaching death, I feel something I haven't experienced since this nightmare began. Peace. We did it. Against impossible odds, with minimal resources, facing an enemy beyond our understanding, we found a way to win. The ship waiting beyond lunar orbit will eventually retreat, taking news of humanity's resistance back to whatever distant stars spawned it. And Earth will have time to prepare, time to build defenses, time to become something worthy of survival. The final structural failure begins as the command module's heat shield fails catastrophically. The last thing I see through the observation window is Earth's blue expanse stretching to every horizon, beautiful and infinite and alive. The last thing I record in this log is the sound of my crew singing. Not words, just a simple melody that Sky remembered from childhood. Something about coming home after a long journey. We are coming home. Final entry, automated emergency beacon. Recovery location, Pacific Ocean, 127 nautical miles SW of Los Angeles. Recovery date, 15 days post-impact. Recovery team, joint military/NASA operations. Complete intelligence package recovered intact. Crew sacrifice confirmed successful. No organisms detected in orbital debris field. Long-range sensors confirm unknown vessel departed lunar orbit 72 hours post-pulse. Trajectory indicating return to origin point beyond solar system. Earth Defense Command operational. Station crew posthumously awarded highest honors. Mission accomplished. Humanity endures.